Dave Archer is President and CEO of NCET, and I purposely say NCET because that is the way he prefers to have it said as opposed to, I'll say this once, it is not like people saying NCET. NCET, which is the Nevada Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. It's a member and sponsor-supported organization that produces business and technology events to help Nevada's small businesses and entrepreneurs. Dave has over 40 years experience in all facets of U.S. and international product and market development at Viacom, HBO, AOL Netscape, where he introduced numerous new products and services including pay-per-view, home shopping, high-speed data services, and OSN, the Middle East's largest multilingual cable TV and satellite programming service. Dave holds an MBA and a BA in management from St. Mary's College in Moraga, California, and AS degrees in electronics engineering and broadcast engineering from the College of San Mateo in San Mateo, California. Dave is the co-founder of the Reno Angels, chair of Entrepreneurship Nevada, and a member of the Nevada System of Higher Education's EPS Core EPSCOR Advisory Committee. Dave was recently named the American Marketing Association's Influencer of the Year, and NCET has been named Nonprofit of the Year by the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David.
The most important thing that's not on there is I am a ProNet alumni. I went through the program in 2001, 2002, and let me echo what Carol said, that you really do make lifelong friends here. And the people you meet here and see every Monday are the people you'll know for the rest of your lives. So it's a great program, and I'm glad I went through it. And also to echo what Peter said, it really did give me an appreciation of networking, that I had worked pretty well continuously until I got into the ProNet program, and I really had no appreciation for networking. But ProNet helped me both appreciate it and show me how to do it. There we go. So, NCET is a member-supported nonprofit organization. We get no federal or state funding. We're completely independent. A little bit of history. We were founded as the Tech Alliance by Edon in 1999. Do any of you remember the Tech Alliance and cocktails.com? Cool. So we were renamed NCET in 2003, and we became associated with the state of Nevada, specifically the Nevada Commission on Economic Development, which is now the Governor's Office on Economic Development. We were spun off by them and lost all the financial support from them in 2000, and we became a standalone 501c3. Should update this. We actually now have a 35-member working board, and Andy Jorgensen is a member of that. And a shout out to Andy. This flyer Andy designed. It's interesting. Andy is both an IT person and a graphic designer, which are two skill sets that usually don't reside in the same person. So we're happy to have Andy on board. So we produce a wide range of business and technology events. I'll talk a little bit about those. We have an email list that, if you're not on our list, my goal is to have everyone in Northern Nevada on my list. So if I'm missing you, you're now my new goal. What we don't do is we don't provide financing or one-on-one counseling. There's a lot of organizations that do that, and I'll talk about that. And again, we're not affiliated with the state or UNR. Kind of the key to what we do is this, the fact that 95% of businesses in Nevada have 20 or fewer employees. 85% have 5 or fewer, which qualify as federal micro enterprises. And Joe Bear is another board member. So, and then last but not least, this is really the interesting one. 75% of Nevada businesses have no employees. They're professionals, sole proprietors, family-owned businesses. And what all this comes to is that Nevada's economy truly is driven by small businesses. When you have 95% of the businesses having 20 or fewer employees, that's something you just can't ignore. And this is our sweet spot. So there's 2 challenges that people who have or want to start a business face, and that's money and help. By the way, kind of why I'm here is that, and have you folks had presentations from people like Matt Westfield and Ron Hoslick?
Not in a while.
Not yet.
Okay, so Obviously, one option is to go out and get a job. Another one is to create your own job, whether it's a contractor or a consultant or to start a business. And so what I'm talking about today are really the resources available. And there's a tremendous number of them, but it's the resources available to help you do that. This is the alphabet soup slide. And I'll talk a little bit about these. What's interesting is this is a wide range of programs that will help you start or grow a business. All of them are either free or low cost. And obviously, if you're at ProNet, free is a good thing. By the way, the good thing about being a ProNet alumni is I don't have to wear a tie. I don't wear a tie literally maybe twice a year. And even for ProNet, I'm not going to wear a tie. Sorry. So SBA is kind of the sugar daddy of the federal government. And when you think of the federal government and Peter's story about dealing with the IRS, the SBA truly is here to help. They have more programs that are truly useful and helpful than probably all the other federal agencies put together. One of the main things, obviously, is funding, but the other thing is a vast amount of technical resources that they either provide directly or through organizations they fund, and I'll talk about that. But just the website alone, SBA.gov, has a tremendous amount of online resources you can really look at. Things from business planning, financing options, things like that. But it's a great resource to learn about what's available out there. Now, that Small Business Development Center is probably the single greatest organization in Northern Nevada. The small business development part, this is a federal template. Again, it's funded by the SBA, but they're located at UNR, and they provide more programs, more counseling than everybody else put together. And most of what they do is free. They have a couple of low-cost programs, but if you have any need for help, assistance, advice, this is the place to start, because even if they can't help you, they'll introduce you to people who can. They also have a lot of economic and demographic data, and they literally, if you say, I'm going to open a business here, they can tell you what the traffic in front of that location looks like. So the amount of resources they have is just incredible. By the way, I hope this is interactive, so at any point, feel free to interrupt, ask questions, share experiences, just things like that. You don't have to wait until the questions slide, which is at the very end.
The annex level, what is that? Oh, okay.
Okay, here's the $5 I promised. Next level, if NSBDC is the greatest organization, next level is the greatest program. Every business needs a business plan. You wouldn't get in your car and drive to Florida without a map. You wouldn't cook a big elaborate dinner probably without a recipe. You shouldn't have a business without a business plan. The next level program is 13 weeks. It's taught by certified instructors, and they bring in a guest speaker every week. At the end of the 13 weeks, you will have a world-class business plan. And a lot of people think, well, I'm not going out for financing, I'm not looking for investors, I don't need a business plan. And the business plan isn't really for them, it's for you, because again, it's the map to get you to Florida. And business plans don't have to be a voluminous volume length thing. It could be 2 or 3 pages, but it's really a guideline for you that you can go back and revisit frequently and say, am I on target? Did I do the things I thought I was going to do? Or run into problems? How can I deal with those problems? So again, I highly recommend that if you have a business or you're going to start a business, get a business plan from Next Level. SCORE is interesting. SCORE used to stand for the Service Corps of Retired Executives, which was a bunch of old white men. And they dropped the name and became SCORE. And what they've done now is they're starting to recruit younger people. The Vegas chapter is amazing because probably half the people there are under 30. So when you go in there, you have people now who are both retired executives who can share their experience, but also people who are out there working in the field every day who can share perhaps more relevant and immediate experience. They have about 40 counselors. Everything they do is free. And what happens when you go in is they try to pair you up with somebody who has relevant experience for what you're doing. So if you're opening a store, they hook you up with somebody who has retail experience. If you're going to be doing a distribution center, they hook you up with people who have that experience. So it's great because, whereas NSBDC tends to be a little bit generalist, SCORE is a bunch of specialists. So it's a great organization to talk to. This is something that, especially if you want to be a contractor, consultant, or any kind of a business, POP is a program put on by the state of Nevada that's federally funded. almost every governmental agency, whether it's federal, state, local, and county, has to get a certain amount of their services and products from various categories of small businesses, women businesses, veteran-owned businesses, things like that. There are set-asides. POP is the way you find out about it. It's a website that costs like $50 a year, and you can go in and search for what you're looking for. And some people think, well, how can I possibly benefit from that? Because the government is looking for freeways and aircraft carriers. I don't do those. The government is also looking for websites, public relations, toilet paper, cleaning services, you name it. And a lot of those are set aside for small businesses. So this is a quick, fast, easy, and inexpensive way to find business opportunities for you. Now, rural is an interesting word. That this is another great federal concept. And when I hear rural, I think of out in the boonies. Rural, as the federal government defines it, covers most of Nevada other than some core areas in Reno, Vegas, and Carson City. So you may actually qualify to be part of rural Nevada, even though you live kind of on the edges of Reno or Carson City or whatever. They do a lot of things, including microloans. I'm going to come back to that later. But the Rural Nevada Development Corporation has a lot of technical assistance, they have funding assistance. So it's something to consider if you're looking for something that falls under these categories. Nevada Industry Excellence is the organization formerly known as MAP. They provide assistance with manufacturing and things like that. They have a lean enterprise course that they teach. They're an extension of the Nevada System of Higher Education. Their programs, again, tend to be very low cost. They specialize in things like sales and profit, energy efficiency, quality management system, things like that. It's a great program. USDA, now again, when I think of USDA, I think of people as farmers. But they have a lot of energy programs, and they have that same issue with rural versus urban. So you might think that for a lot of reasons you're never going to qualify for any program USDA have. You'd be surprised at how many programs really would be relevant. So it's something to check out if any of these things look of interest to you. By the way, I'll just leave it on the computer, so feel free to share the slide and all the contact information. This is all over. Veterans Business Outreach Center. This is kind of interesting because we're in the process of getting our own one here. Up until now, we've been a satellite of the one in Sacramento, and somebody came up every once in a while and visited us. I think they're going to end up at the Cube, but I'm not absolutely certain. But this is something they have a lot of programming for current and former military people, reservists, and things like that. A lot of great programs, like I mentioned, there's set-asides for veterans-owned businesses. So if you are a veteran or reservist, check these things out. Entrepreneurs Assembly. This is, in fact, Matt Westfield, who is an alumni. And was Rod Hoslick alumni? So, and the point about it, I wouldn't practice saying how many ProNet alumni is. I swear 75% of the people I know went through this program. It's a great program, and all they need is a secret handshake. So they do every other Saturday workshop. It's kind of once a month.
Second Saturday.
Yeah, over at the Vassar Cordone.
Getting ready to next month and the month after moving downtown to the
Cube.
The old city building at Sinclair.
University.
Yeah,
the university's
Innovation
Center. That's what we're doing.
Oh, very cool. I'm glad I came today.
Could you repeat?
Well, we didn't understand what you were talking about.
Okay, so the update on this is they meet monthly, currently at Vassar Cordone, but they're going to be moving to the new UNR Innovation Center, which is over on Sinclair. It's the old fire department building, kind of diagonally across the street from the Discovery Museum. And what it is, it's for people who kind of are in the validation stage, that they have an idea, they need to get some feedback on it, and it's a great program. It's a series of roundtables and interactions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can illuminate real quick.
Please stand up.
Entrepreneurs Assembly will take
the microphone.
This is probably easier than me trying.
Entrepreneurs Assembly will take you from startup. If you don't have any idea of what you want to do, but you have an idea you want to start a business, you'll come in and they'll set you at one table, and they have mentors there that will actually walk you through and find out, are your ideas viable? Are they a possibility in the market? Once you establish that, they'll move you to the next table, which is where they'll actually help you flesh out who's going to be your vendors, who's going to be your customers, what's your customer base going to be like, how would your business be structured. After that, you come to the next table, which is where you're actually going to start developing your business plan and getting yourself ready to be funded. And once they help you get to the funding point, then you move over to where they'll actually mentor you through developing your business and making money.
Wow.
Cool. Thank you. Made in Nevada. This is interesting. Right now, it's limited to products and art made in Nevada, and that's defined as 51%. It doesn't currently cover services. This is another program that was started by the state and spun off, but it helps to promote locally manufactured or created products and services. They do a lot of events, they do an online catalog, they do a print magazine once a year. It's a great thing. It's fairly inexpensive. I think it's currently $99 a year to join. But Made in Nevada, if you have Made in Nevada products, it's a good thing. Have you guys ever had Dave Asher come in and talk about?
Yeah. In fact, I was going to say, the guy who manages the store for Dave Asher is also a ProNet alumni.
There you go. Yeah, I don't have Dave Asher's store, but what Dave Asher, he and I are kind of distant twin brothers or something. But he started that new store over at the Old Reno Old Town Mall, and it's got 3,000 products. It's just the greatest thing. So if you make stuff, it's a great place to sell it. Because he takes the product kind of on consignment, and then you get a check once a month for things that are sold at the store. Now, my favorite organization. So this one is free, and unfortunately, a lot of our stuff is not free. But this one is. This one is this coming Wednesday. It's the third Wednesday of every month. It's over at Swill. And it's a drop-in co-working networking opportunity. It's from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Typically, there's 20 to 30 people there. Some people come in with their laptops and work. Some people come in to meet. Some people come in to socialize. It's very informal. We started this because the feedback for the next two programs we're going to talk about is there was so much content that it cut into the networking time. So this is purely networking. This is the ProNet special. It's 3 hours of nothing but networking. And again, it's free, and you get 3 copies. So.
Say that again?
Sure. Off the lakeside.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's over by Ben's.
Basically, if near the intersection of Moana and Lakeside, if you go north toward the lake, or Virginia Lake, it's basically a block up on the right-hand side.
Across from Nevada State.
Basically, they're at that intersection. There's 7-Eleven, Moana Nursery, Ben's Winery, or something like that. And if you just go north about a block, it's toward the end of that strip.
Now, Swill, I'll come back to it, but Swill has become kind of the happening place. They have more regularly scheduled meetings going on in Swill than any place in town. One of them is 1 Million Cups that I'll talk about, but the B&I groups meet there. We have our board meeting tonight there. It has become the business social center of the town, and a great place to hang out. The next event, and full disclosure, this is my lovely wife, but we'll be talking about QuickBooks. The Tech Night Luncheons were started last year, and what they focus on is the common business technology used by businesses. And a lot of the workshops in town talk to you about why you should be doing things, or how social media can be a good thing. We show you how to use the platform. So we'll be talking about the different versions of QuickBooks, and once you get into them, how to use them. We've also had ones on Facebook, YouTube. We have one coming up on social media scheduling software, but it's not kind of the why to use it, it's the how to use it. It's when you turn the computer on and you have that platform sitting in front of you, what do you do with it to get the maximum usage out of it? We try to give you 5 actual items every week, rather every month, to be able to walk back to your home or your office and put them into action that day. We typically have about 100 people here, so it's a great networking opportunity. And it's at the Atlantis every 4th Wednesday of the month. Next we have the Tech Wednesdays. The Tech Wednesdays are always interesting. I know that some of you have been to them. We do a behind-the-scenes tour of some company that utilizes technology. And there's 2 reasons to it, well, 3 reasons to it. One is it gets you an opportunity to look at what these companies are doing. 2 is it's another networking opportunity because we have 50 to 75 people each time more importantly, the management team is there for the entire 2 hours. There are very few opportunities in this town to have that kind of quality time with a management team. So you've got the CEO, the C-level people, everybody there, and you can hobnob with them. And it's kind of the ultimate networking opportunity for everyone. And then the final one, this is one of our 2 big annual events, the Tech Awards. We partner with EDON and the RGJ to give out a series of awards. In our case, they're focused on technology companies and technologists. And this year, I think we have 17 winners, but it'll be on Thursday, April 9th at the Atlantis, and Hillary Shive is going to be our MC this year. She is the biggest proponent of businesses. The nice thing is she owns a small business, she gets it, she understands it. She understands the challenges of working with city government, and she tries to make it as easy as possible.
What is the cost of a ticket?
If you're an NCET member, memberships are just $50 a year. You can get 2 tickets for $50 each. List price otherwise is $100 each. So obviously you can join NCET and save money. Because 2 tickets would be $200 if you join NCET. 2 tickets are $150 between your membership and the 2 tickets. We have 456 members as of this morning. So we're at this point probably one of the larger membership organizations in town. And again, our beginning membership is just $50 because we try to make it affordable. That, back when I was in ProNet, a lot of the organizations were very expensive to join in terms of the annual memberships, and we don't want that to be a barrier as much as possible. How many of you have been to 1 million cups? So 1 million cups, you guys have to get out there. This one's free.
You're missing something great.
Free and free coffee. It's every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. at Swill. What they do is they bring in 2 companies, and the companies have 6 minutes to present. And the idea is they get up there and talk for 6 minutes, usually about some challenge facing them. The audience then gets 24 minutes to respond, ask some questions, give them feedback. So it really is set up to validate whatever idea or answer whatever question the presenters may have. But the room is packed, 50 to 75 people, so it's a great networking opportunity and it's free. So do consider that one. Now, again, networking, this is, bless you, these are just a few of the organizations in town. I swear we have more networking opportunities per capita. I lived before this in New York and San Francisco. We have more networking opportunities per capita than any place I've ever lived. This is just some of the organizations. So we have marketing, PR, nurses, human resources, graphic artists. This, I'm sure some of you have been to Lynn, this is the single best networking opportunity in town. 300 people get together for breakfast once a month. Anybody you want to meet, the movers and shakers are there. This is, I get more work done in 1 WIN breakfast than I do the rest of the month. I swear, WIN is the single greatest thing we can go to. Advertising, HR, recruiting, and financial planners. And that's just some of them. So these are just a few of the organizations that have monthly meetings. There is a monthly meeting and networking opportunity for any discipline you may be in. So check these out. You guys still have a roll call of the events coming up and things like that? So you may know all about it, a lot of things, but again, these are all great networking opportunities, and you can learn something and be a lot of interesting. This is now the Startup Digest is both an online calendar and you can get an email version of it sent to you. And when you go online at startupdigest.com and then you select Reno, when you see the number of events that are up there, what's interesting about Reno is if you compare Reno to, for example, New York or LA, we have more events than they do. And this again is a testament to things going on in this town versus anywhere else. So what I would encourage you to do is to go there, look at the calendar, and then sign up, and you'll get a weekly email that comes out early Monday morning that gives you all the events coming up for the week. And some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free, but it's really a fast one-stop shop to find out what's going on that week. Technology resources, this is interesting. By the way, we actually, in the same way that SCORE got rid of the Service Corps retired executives, we kind of got rid of the Nevada Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. And the reason behind that is interesting that we did some research and we found out that when you say that you're in Nevada, people think you're affiliated with the state of Nevada, which we're not. When you say center, people think that you have a brick and mortar presence, which we don't, virtual. Entrepreneurship, almost nobody self-identifies as being an entrepreneur. But most people think of themselves as a small business. Entrepreneur is off-putting. And technology is off-putting. People think you have to be an engineer to attend our events. As soon as we collapsed that down to NCET, our attendance and membership went through the roof. Just that one rebranding was the most important thing we've probably done of that in the last 2 years. And speaking of the 2 years, these groups mostly didn't exist 2 years ago. These are technology-focused organizations and resources. Bridgewire and Reno Generator are makerspaces, so literally they have rooms full of equipment that you can go in and use, lathes, CNC machines, drill presses, all sorts of things. Reno Collective is a co-working space. Northern Nevada Software Developers Group is mostly married enterprise software people who live in the South Meadows. In contrast, the people at Reno Collective are young people who hang out downtown who do apps and things. So we have these two software groups that have no overlap. They don't talk to each other. But they're really two very good groups that have two very different focuses. And then the Nevada Inventors Association, which is just what it is. Okay, so the things that people need, again, are resources, technical advice, things like that, and money. Let me talk a little about money, because this is another one that 2 years ago, this was a far different presentation. How many of you have seen this guy on TV?
Oh, yeah.
There are no grants. That, kind of like the discussion of the freeways and the aircraft carriers. Yes, there are grants, but none of us in this room, mostly, are ever going to get them. So that's probably one of the top questions I get is, how do I get these grants? The short answer is you don't. So don't even go there. Microloans are an interesting thing. This is another program backed by the SBA. And literally, they will loan you anywhere from $500,000 to $50,000. Two categories. One is for people already in business, and one is for people who want to start businesses. To qualify, you have to be declined by a traditional bank first. Once you've been declined, then you can go to any of these providers and say, I'm declined, I need the money. The reason they're called microloans is they're not meant to help you buy a building or expand internationally or something like that. They're there to help you do some small, bite-sized piece of something. You say you're a plumber and the transmission goes up in your truck. They can give you a microloan to help you buy a new transmission. You say you need $25,000 to buy inventory. That's the kind of things they do. So it's microloans, and it's for people who can't get traditional financing. The RNDC one, once again, is limited to the people in the rural areas. And if it's WNDD, you can tell them all about that, can't you? So,
What's the
don't know. It varies, because all those organizations are different, and some of them are a moving target. Some of them can turn around, they all have underwriting committees. Some of them can turn it around very quickly, some of them don't. So and they come and go. How many of you know the difference between angel and venture capital financing? Cool. You could be doing this presentation. So angel groups tend to be individuals who get together as kind of an investment club, and in most cases they make individual investment decisions. So like if this was a group of angels, we wouldn't pool our money and invest in something. Each of us would individually decide that we like this idea and we're going to invest in it. Typically they'll invest $100,000 up to a couple of million. In Northern Nevada we have two angel groups. We have the Sierra Angels up in Incline Village, who are kind of the granddaddies of angel investors. The Reno Angels NCET helped form back in 2008. We have about 20 members. We focus exclusively on Northern Nevada companies, where the Sierra Angels tend to have a broader focus. The Sierra Angels have a very tight screening process. We tend to invite most people to come in and make presentations because we want to hear what's going on. We like to get feedback. What they're looking for, and this is the important thing, they're looking for the next Google, Amazon, Apple. It has to be a high growth potential company, companies that are going to grow like this, not like this. So angel groups don't invest in retail operations, entertainment things. They don't invest in Anything that's kind of a lifestyle business where you make enough money kind of to support yourself, but you're not going to grow exponentially. So the reason I'm saying that is that a lot of people come to us and say, gee, I want to open some kind of a retail establishment. Don't waste your time, because they're not going to invest in that kind of thing. They're looking again for the next step.
Would you say it's more tech-based?
It doesn't have to be tech-based, but tech-based companies tend to have the higher, so.
Quicker upside.
Yeah, very quick.
There was one company, how many of you are familiar with the Cube? The Cube just had one of their things go on. They have invested, they've helped get funding for a company that is going to sell breast milk, which obviously is not high tech, but it turns out that there's a need for a supply of, and these people have figured out how to be kind of a middleman connector of that. And it's really a fascinating thing, but it's a low-tech thing, because essentially the milk is stored in your freezer until you have a certain amount. Then you ship it to the company who ships it out and people need it. Or they take different factors out of it. But you're right, though, that most companies are tech companies. Venture capital, this is the one hole in our financing supply in Reno that the venture capital, again, is $2 million and up. We have a couple of people who have small funds. We have a couple of people who make occasional visits here, but we don't have boots on the ground VC funds very much. And one of the challenges we see in Nevada is that if you're a company that needs $5–10 million, you can find the financing, but it's probably going to come from out of state. And the catch is going to be that they're going to want you to move to wherever the financing came from. So we tend to lose companies who need those multi-million-dollar financing packages because we can't supply the funding here. And that's a chicken and egg thing, because we don't have enough companies to warrant having VCs here, and we don't have VCs here because we don't have enough companies. So, but that's the one thing that if we could change that, that would be a great thing for that. Now we have some state-backed development funds, and this is interesting because the Nevada State Constitution prohibits the state from investing in or loaning money to private companies. So there's been some clever workarounds. One of them is the Catalyst Fund, which unfortunately is now mired in legal challenges because it didn't work around very well. The Silver State Fund is interesting because that was passed in the last legislative cycle, and I was involved in that one. And what they did was they changed the law so that the state could take the education fund, which technically does not belong to the state of Nevada. Long, complicated thing, but the money is kind of a trust fund, and it doesn't fall under that constitutional prohibition. So the state now has a $50 million fund that can be invested in things. One of the things they invested in, for example, was the acquisition of Miller Heiman, and that's kind of thing. So it tends to be bigger deals, but at least it's there. The Knowledge Fund was $10 million that was divvied up equally between DRI, UNR, and UNLV, and it's to help them commercialize things that are coming out of there. The last one is the important one. This is federal money that's administered by the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And what they do is they will invest in early stage, angel size, or VC size funding. And they've invested in 3 companies so far. And back to your question about timing, the first investment took 2 years. So if you're a desperate need of money, that's not a good thing. But for the first time, we actually have early stage funding available in the state, which we've never, ever had before. And if you go to their website, they define how those 3 categories of companies are defined, but there really is money for early stage, but it's not going to be fast and easy. Actually, I don't have it on here. There's another one, the Reno Accelerator Fund. This was some redevelopment money that the city of Reno has, and they've been allocating it. It's $20,000 or $25,000, and the only requirement is that you be a Reno-based company with some income qualifications, and you have to be associated with one of our incubators, which are the Cube, the Reno Collective, Rural Made, and there's one. Yeah. So, and then literally and originally it was a grant, but this time it's going to be a loan or an investment.
And they also, weren't they starting a low, low percent loan? And it was like 3% or something like that.
So again, it's early stage money, and But the nice thing is they used to do it once a year, now they're doing it 3 times a year. So it's worth looking into if you can use $20,000 or $25,000. It's the Reno Accelerator Fund. If you Google that, it'll take you to the website. It's a good thing because, again, it's early stage money. Okay, that's the end of the canned pitch. I think I have 2 or 3 more minutes. So sure.
And folks, a little bit different today because we do have the mics. I'll raise your hand. We'll pass you the mics, and that way everybody can hear back as well. So, Sean, can you give it over to Wayne?
Dave, is this material available on the NCET website?
Almost all of it is, but I will also leave you folks the PowerPoint.
Thank you.
I just wondered, at the beginning you said Nevada, or Reno, I guess it is 75%. Employers are 70, what did you say about?
Actually, that's statewide. And interestingly, it's not all that different throughout the entire country. But these are, of course, it's one of the very first slides.
75% are run by the owners?
Owners, professionals, sole proprietors.
So that's just in Reno, or that's?
Well, that's, these figures are actually statewide figures, but this is true roughly of the entire country.
I didn't hear the answer.
When you think about it, dentists, lawyers, accountants, all those folks, and family-owned businesses who technically don't, in a lot of cases, have employees, or sole proprietors, consultants, contractors. This was probably one of the most surprising things I learned when I started it. I've been at NCET almost 10 years, and this was the thing that really, that's why I start with this, because it's just, I had no idea. And these are figures produced by the Nevada System of Higher Education and SBDC.
Wow, so there's not a lot of...
Now, the flip side of this is, though, that 5% are the companies like IGT or the hospitals, the universities, people who employ lots and lots of major casino groups who employ lots and lots of people. So this is in terms numerically of the companies, not the percentage of people employed by those companies. So we're not saying that 95% of the people in Nevada are employed by these. We're just saying 95% of the business licenses are in effect.
Well, that means there's not a lot of jobs overall. You know, if you're running your company with 20 people.
Well, there are a lot of these, but again, numerically, if you look at how many people work for Caesars, or how many people work for Harris, how many people work for stations, how many people work for IGT or Renown, or... Well, one of the things I can tell you kind of along those lines, before I took this job, I was involved with the American Marketing Association. And the AMA's guidelines were you go after people who have marketing in their title. And when we did that, we had 6 people show up for our lunches. When we started going after people who did marketing along with something else, at our peak we averaged about 150 people a month for the lunches because we didn't go after marketing people, we went after people who did marketing. So, you know, that's one of the things that's been kind of interesting, is that a lot of companies don't have the luxury of having a person who does one thing. They have people who multitask. Vicki.
Thanks. Per these statistics, the Federal Department of Commerce has done analysis and there's significant data to indicate that the greatest job growth segment is in small businesses. So in terms of overall job growth in the United States, it is the small businesses, and that's why the federal government has been, in the last 4 or 5 years, investing so much money in innovation and entrepreneurship. I know you've chosen not to use those words, but those are the federal funds. That's the federal approach. And again, the greatest job growth across the nation comes with small businesses. So while you would think that all those small businesses, there's not a lot of jobs, but that's not true. The difference between one company who's one person growing to 5, that's a 5-fold increase, no, 500% increase in that organization, whereas Atlanta's casino, they have 1,000 and they go to 2005. So the growth of this country is dependent upon small businesses. So I think this is a perfect place for you to approach it. And Dave, I'm going to send you some of those statistics because I think that's exactly what you need after the slide.
And again, with this one, that the chances of one of those companies adding one person is probably better than the chances of the Atlantis hiring 500 people. Mm-hmm. So, keep an eye on these. And these, again, you're only going to get with networking because both Renown and IGT have HR departments who are out there trolling for employees. These people are going to get them by word of mouth.
Would nonprofits fall under this also?
Yeah, and Nevada, I believe it's 7 to 10% of the workforce works for nonprofits. Are you folks familiar with the Alliance for Nevada Nonprofits? That is a great organization, and I was on the board way back when, but they do a lot of webinars. They have a big annual meeting. Phil Johncock is the executive director. If you have any interest in being involved with nonprofits, AND is the group to look at. And people underestimate the impact that nonprofits have on Nevada's economy, because again, 7 to 10% of the workforce work for nonprofits. And there are job opportunities there.
What percentage of the workforce works for the government, whether it be state, county, federal?
When they were here, they said 18,000 people out of 2.9 million live in Nevada work for the state.
That's the state.
Any other questions? Well, great. Thank you all for letting me be here today, and hopefully next time I'm here, ready to do. Leave these flyers out. These flyers are this month's events, and again, these were created. The graphic design was by Andy, great graphic artist and IT person, and hopefully you'll do a good job.
Okay, folks, and again, all these slides will be posted probably via our Facebook page. I'm not sure if we can post it via LinkedIn or not, but we'll get that out to you. Again, Dave, thanks for coming out.